Hello, can you hear me? Fantastic. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the session. I struggle to fit what I need to say into like 40-minute presentations and 60-minute presentations, so apologies. We're going to go quite quick, and I'm going to get straight into it. Apologies for the really clunky title. I wrote it and had to submit it before I'd written the presentation. I am going to be talking about what we've done within Lloyds Bank with our mature chatbot and how we've brought LLMs into it. Start with introductions. Hi, I'm Rui. I've been in conversational AI for about 10 years. Before that, I was in social media for a few years, and before that, I was what we used to call a web designer. So I've been kind of dealing with digital words for nearly 30 years now. I work in the conversational banking lab. We're a group of about 100 people, data scientists, engineers, product owners, what we now call customer journey managers, analysts. And we've been, our main responsibility is to run a retail customer service chatbot. It's been up and running since 2017. It's got over 250 intents. We've got hundreds of agents who pick up the escalations from customers. It has millions of conversations per year. And it ranges from like FAQ, simple FAQ responses to some quite deep transactional journeys. You can complete quite a lot of banking journeys within the chatbot. Conversational Banking Lab sits within a platform called Consumer Servicing and Engagement, and that looks after all kind of digital touch points for our customers. So everything from banks to digital displays, and everything from, did I say banks? Everything from websites and apps to digital displays in branches, all the way through to kind of messaging, which is what we do. And that all sits within Lloyds Banking Group. We're a big financial services group. Most people have seen the horse. We also have Halifax is one of our brands, a geographically relevant Bank of Scotland, and MBNA, the credit card company. So that's the intros, and let's get into it. So we've all heard the siren call of LLMs. So I heard it today. Sirens, they're from Greek mythology. They would be out in the sea, and they'd sing really alluring songs. The sailors can't resist the songs. They go to them, and then they'd get shipwrecked on rocks, and then the sirens would eat them. Fluid conversations, you don't need to train intents. I mean, anyone that's was working in conversational AI in 2016, this was like magical. We've all had our first interaction with ChatGPT, and it blew all of our minds. And there are some risks. They were touched on in the last presentation. Like, they make stuff up. They can be like racist and sexist and tell lies if you're not careful. There are some risks. But we've all been hearing this for the last few years, and reactions to the siren call vary. And I call this the axis of bravery. So at one end, we've got the timid mice, scared of hallucinations, don't want to send our data to American companies or Chinese companies. What we've got works and is delivering benefits, so we're just going to stay where we are. We're not going to. There's too much risk, not going to get involved. A lot of mice around a few years ago. There's not so many mice around now. At the other end of the scale, you've got the lions. Now the lions, today, they're all building their agentic frameworks already. A couple of years ago, they uploaded their company website into ChatGPT and replaced their website with a GPT. Didn't put guardrails on it. And there are risks there. I'm not going to embarrass any brands, but we've all seen the news stories about the things that can go wrong, things that chatbots say to customers, ends up in the newspapers. Bad. Obviously, with most axes, the interesting stuff is kind of in the middle, and that was what a few years ago, we were quite early. I got very excited about GPT before ChatGPT. I was playing in that playground daily. I was creating training sets for intents with it. There's like we decided that actually we had too much to throw away. We had too much to replace. We have goods journeys that deliver really good benefits. Our customers like them. We didn't want to throw it away. But we were really, really excited. Shout out to Copilot for the mouse-lion hybrid illustration there. So we came to a point of view of thinking, right, it's not about deterministic versus stochastic, are we going to replace what we've got? We wanted to look at the capabilities of LLMs and think about how we could use those to enhance what we have had already. So capability is really important. I'm not going to milk this slide because hopefully people in this room know about the capabilities of LLMs. They can do conversations but generate texts and write blog posts and social media ads. They're also really good at summarizing. Translation has been touched on. They're much better than previous technologies for that kind of stuff. And then they can do some like fairly basic classification, extracting information from documents. And the colors there represent different risk levels. These different tasks, risk depends on context, always. But fundamentally, it's a lot safer to do a classification job than it is to do a generation job. So, with those capabilities in mind, don't think about ChatGPT, don't think about Claude or Gemini, but think about the things that they can do, the tasks that they complete. Right, now that we've done that, hopefully most people can recognize this. It's a very simplified chatbot flow. Customer says something at the start, it goes into a natural language understanding unit, and that will sometimes classify that correctly and play back a correct dialogue. Sometimes it will get it wrong, and sometimes it won't understand at all, and it won't classify anything at all. You've got some repair features, and you escalate to a human. When we looked at this through the lens of what we were doing, we found problems, right? User utterances. Users don't always speak very clearly, don't spell correctly, use bad grammar. The models struggle to understand that. A percentage of utterances that should be understood go in and hit the NLU, and they're not understood. For some reason, it's like, don't know what you're talking about. It takes a lot of time and effort to design those correct dialogues, to design those dialogues and make them. Keeping stepping through. Rephrase requests. Customers hate them. Chatbot users hate a rephrase request. Part of the reason for that is that it's actually quite a challenging thing to do. Average reading age in the UK is 9. Being asked to say something in a different set of words for a lot of people is challenging, and when people feel challenged by a brand, they just hate the brand. When we hand over to humans, our agents, who are brilliant, but at the start of every interaction, they have to scroll through a play. It's this dialogue between the chatbot and the customer. What did the customer say? What did the chatbot say? To work out why this customer's ended up with them and what they need to do for them. So that takes time and it's effort and it's mentally draining. Now, what we found is when we looked at this, the problems that we had, and I totally agree, let's start with the problems, but actually before you start with the problems, go and learn what the capabilities of LLMs are, because what you want to do is look at your problems and then think about what sort of tasks are going to help out against each of those. Customers using poor spelling and grammar, well, LLMs can fix spelling and grammar really well. Classification, they're really good at classification. Translating, a rephrase request is a translation request, fundamentally. Summarization could help with those conversations, those plays that our agents have to read on pickup. Generation, like if a computer could just answer the questions for us without having to get engineers to build dialogues and designers to design them, wouldn't that be cool? So with these, what we've got here are pairings, right? A problem and a task that LLM is capable of that can help. And basically, features fall out of those pairings. User utterance, bad user utterances, plus an LLM correction, that's an input cleanser. Getting an LLM to support the classification, that's a classifier. Again, I won't milk the slide, but what you end up with is challenge capability pairs. You see that we've got green, yellow, and red. They kind of represent the risk factors. Once we worked out these features, we then think about, right, what's the value behind these features? And then plot them on a simple XY of value and risk. You can see there, LLM classifier came out super low risk. Classification is so low risk. Input cleanser and rephraser were kind of up there in terms of value alongside it. And then we had some slightly higher risk, lower mixed value stuff, and then the RAG for FAQ intents is like really high risk but super high value. What we found is when we built the LLM classifier and put it out, actually the value of the input cleanser and the rephraser came down. It was less. The classifier was really successful, had a massive impact on our classification. So actually we had fewer utterances that were coming in that were not being classified. We had the number of times that we said to our customers, we don't understand what you're saying, can you repeat yourself, crashed. So the value came down. And what plotting this does is it gave us a priority order of things to go after. And this is the killer thing. Right, LLM classifier was a no-brainer. Start there. So we started there. That gave us benefits, changed the potential value of some of the others. That left us with Chat Summarizer. And what we did was we built these things. So we started with the LLM classifier. That went live. That reduced our failure to classify by 50%. It's a secondary classifier, so it only kicks in when our main chatbot doesn't know what a customer's saying. We send the utterance to an LLM. We've given the LLM our training data from our main chatbot, and it's much, much better at identifying intent than our main chatbot classifier. We launched that in September 2023 in production, an LLM in financial services in a customer channel. I think we were the first bank in the UK to do that. Then late last year, we launched the Chat Summarizer, and our agents are now reading summaries at the start of conversations. They're picking up conversations more quickly. They're getting through more of them in an hour, and they're enjoying their jobs a bit more. RAG for FAQ intents is still in development. And actually, before we built the outward-facing tools, we actually built features. We were building tools for the guys and girls in our lab who were working on training, who were working on the VA, to accelerate their data curation, their data collection, which is always the slowest part of the training job, is getting the training data in the first place. Just to kind of summarize on the approach, start by identifying challenges in your chatbot workflow. I missed a really important bit of setup at the start of this. This is all about like going from something that's big and mature and bringing in these additional benefits, right? If you're a startup, you don't have a chatbot, you don't really need any of this process. You can just go all in on the LLMs because you've got nothing to lose. But you start with identifying the challenges, then you map capabilities to each of the challenges that you're facing. Once you've mapped those capabilities, it's really easy to define features out of that. They kind of fall out of that pairing. And then prioritize according to risk and value. That's the absolute key thing, is combining risk and value. Build your top one, put it live. Also really important to put stuff live. Lots and lots and lots and lots of people have been spending a lot of time doing R&D, and they kind of get to something, and then it doesn't go live. I think we had the stat earlier, 80% of AI projects fail. And I think the reason they fail is because they don't build in this risk into the prioritization. The RAG is really attractive. Yeah, let's go after RAG. That's really difficult. If you look at what Apple have just done, they've got all the money in the world. They've just had to push back their integration of LLMs into Siri. They did something Apple never do. It's really hard to get this stuff right. So by chunking it up, prioritizing according to risk and value, what you do is you get a bunch of benefits. Number one is your benefits are incremental. If you add an improvement, that goes on top of your current NPS, that goes on top of your current containment, that goes on top of your current stats. Pathfinding, a lot of this stuff is difficult. You're going to need to make decisions about technology. You're going to need to understand and plan for governance. You're going to need to upskill people and recruit people. You're going to need to build confidence in your stakeholders and your leadership. Doing a 12-month project that ends up not getting anywhere is not going to build that trust. You've got a lot to do, so starting with smaller chunks builds the knowledge, builds the frameworks around it before you get to the complicated stuff. You do risk your R&D budgets. You avoid that 12-month white elephant where you spent £3 billion and didn't get anything live. And it's agile. Because you're going feature by feature, you're going risk by risk. When a new capability comes out, as we've seen over the last 12 months, it's been a constant appearance of anyone who defined their Gen AI strategy 12 months ago for the next 3 years is feeling a bit embarrassed now because they don't have agentic frameworks. So as the world changes, as your customers and users respond to your technology, you can flip, you can change, you can reprioritize, and you get continual incremental benefits. You learn about the technology. While minimizing the risks, because there are a lot of risks. Thank you, I've been really time out. I hope you found this useful, and I look forward to chatting to you out there.